3 pride flags on set as they're recording season 4.
So what I did, I put out a tweet, said, hey, and I added The Chosen. Can you explain why there's a pride flag on set?
And they sometimes wear t-shirts or hats that go across the entire spectrum, from a pride flag or a MAGA hat. So this particular issue this week, this is not our problem. In fact, when we filmed the feeding of the 5,000, one of our crew members had this pride flag on his own personal equipment then too.
Hey there guys, I hope everybody's doing well out there. I didn't think I was going to be talking about The Chosen again so soon. What we're about to talk about is crazy, and it should be the confirmation that all of those people who were mad at me for criticizing The Chosen need to see that the show is way off the rails. If the inaccuracies in the show itself were not enough to stop you from watching the show, this very well may. The Chosen series uploaded this behind-the-scenes video to show us what's going on with the recording of Season 4. And at one point in the video, we can see 3 pride flags on set as they're recording Season 4. The cameraman has 2 small pride flags on his backpack, and there's one just sitting on this camera rig. And on the video itself, this tiny flag is actually blowing in the wind. So here's the clip where this was noticed most.
So who would have thought Judas and Z doing laundry together would be one of the most fascinating scenes in Season 4?
And this is the gentleman who noticed it, so I'll let him explain what happened next.
So what I did, I put out a tweet, said, hey, and I added The Chosen. Can you explain why there's a pride flag on set?
So interestingly enough, The Chosen tweeted back to this gentleman and said the following: just like our hundreds of cast and crew who have different beliefs or no beliefs at all than we do, we will work with anyone on our show who helps us portray or honor the authentic Jesus. We ask that audiences let the show speak for itself and focus on the message, not the messenger, because we will always let you down. And as you can imagine, that response didn't help the situation one bit. They basically said, we have a cast and crew who thinks all different sorts of things, and will work with absolutely anyone. There is no standard, apparently. And then they asked their fans to just mind their own business and watch the show, basically. They said, focus on the message and not us, which would be one thing if you weren't offering people behind-the-scenes looks at the show and hyping up the season and having all of the cast interviewed and speaking in public. If you don't want us to look at what you're doing and saying, then don't post it everywhere. And it only got much worse from there, because Luke Dimyon, who plays Judas on the show, jumped into a Twitter conversation with John Root, John being the person who first brought up this issue. And John was suggesting that we boycott The Chosen. Luke Dimyon jumps in here and says, yeah, good luck with that. Happy Pride Month, y'all. Then he put a rainbow flag emoji, a heart emoji, and hashtag love is love. So that's what the man who plays Judas Iscariot in The Chosen believes. And if that's not bad enough, Giovanni Cairo, who apparently plays Thaddeus on the show, also chimed in on Twitter and said, another one of the actors on The Chosen here, anyone who is going to get at one of our family members for something like this is no fan of ours. They can close the door on the way out. Love one another as I have loved you. We stand with our brother. Rainbow flag emoji, heart emoji. So this is another Chosen actor who's down with pride, and he's quoting verses like John 15:12, where Jesus says, love one another as I have loved you. Well, Giovanni, is love the same thing as acceptance and pride? Showing off your lifestyle for everyone else to see, is that love? You shouldn't even quote the Bible if you're doing it this disingenuously. Like, you don't care about the Bible, Giovanni, so why even bring it up? Oh, this was my favorite one, Jordan Ross, the character who plays little James, who was in that whole scene where he's disabled but Jesus refuses to heal him. You can go watch my previous videos on The Chosen for a whole lot more about that. And the pride is strong with Jordan Ross. Jordan says, my brother at GCairo06 isn't the only one who stands by the LGBTQ members of our chosen family. Strong arm emoji, rainbow flag emoji, heart emoji. Get out of here with your hate, homophobia, and ignorance. Not very Jesus-like of you, Johnny. Well, while we're talking about the Bible, Jordan Ross, what about not being unequally yoked with unbelievers? What about 2 Corinthians 6, verse 14? Do not be bound together with unbelievers. For what partnership have righteousness and lawlessness? Or what fellowship has light with darkness? Or what harmony has Christ with Belial? Or what has a believer in common with an unbeliever? Or how about Romans 1, starting at verse 26? For this reason, God gave them over to degrading passions, for their women exchanged the natural function for that which is unnatural. And in the same way also, the men abandoned the function of the woman and burned in their desire toward one another. Men with men, committing indecent acts and receiving in their own persons the due penalty of their error. And just as they did not see fit to acknowledge God any longer, God gave them over to a depraved mind to do those things which are not proper. Skipping down to verse 32 for time's sake, and although they knew the ordinance of God, that those who practice such things are worthy of death, they not only do the same, but also gave hearty approval to those who practice them. So look, little James, Judas, and Thaddeus, it is a sin to encourage sin, and it's what people who have been given over to a depraved mind do. So let's look at what Dallas Jenkins had to say about this.
So on our set, just to be clear, this is nothing new.
It's nothing new, Dallas? This happens all the time? You're telling me that people bring pride flags to record a Christian show?
Like I said, we've had, for a long time, our cast and crew have wildly different beliefs. They run the spectrum, and they sometimes wear t-shirts or hats that go across the entire spectrum, from a pride flag or a MAGA hat or a Jesus Saves shirt. And no one's been triggered. No one on our set minds.
Why would anyone be offended at a Jesus Saves shirt when they're working on a Christian show? That's not the same as wearing a pride flag to help create a Christian show. And so Dallas is telling us, yes, people do this. They bring pride flags with them. And also, no one is offended at that. No one on set.
We are a huge, we're a family. We're very tight-knit on set, and everyone loves the experience.
Well, that's nice, except for the fact that you guys are very unequally yoked. I mean, we knew that the guy who plays Jesus is a Roman Catholic, and that you have 3 Mormon executive producers. But this is taking that same theme to a whole other level.
And our personal policy has always been that we don't police individual workspaces or social media.
But it's your set. Their workspaces are on your set. It's your show, Dallas. And you're okay with this?
And even in this last week, some of our cast said some things online that I wouldn't have said, and we talked about it, and I just said, you can say what you want, but I think, here's examples of wisdom that we could practice, and but that's just how we've operated from the beginning.
Well, it sounds to me that Dallas has very little control over the show, but I'm glad that Dallas has this policy because I think that the fans of the show at least deserve to know that many of the people who work on the show openly support evil. That's what this is. It's literally endorsing sin. And it might not be the official position of The Chosen, but it's how many of the people who work on the show feel, and it's how they live. And it's apparently just been a part of the culture of the show from the very beginning.
So this particular issue this week, this is not our problem.
Whose problem is it, Dallas? Do you run a show called The Chosen?
We're doing the same thing we've always done. It's a philosophy we've had all along. We've communicated it repeatedly.
You mean pride? You're okay with having pride flags on the set? That's your policy. And you're fine with the fact that your actors are speaking out in support of it. I'll tell you what I find especially cowardly about Dallas Jenkins right now. And that is the fact that in this video, where he tried to explain this away, he took no stance on pride and he took no stance on any sort of LGBT issue. Wouldn't it be nice if he just told us what he believed, at least? I mean, do you believe Romans 1 or not? Is this a sin?
Our visitors and whatnot see it when they come.
So get this, visitors to The Chosen, when they show up, they see pride flags on the set. What in the world is going on at this show?
In fact, when we filmed the feeding of the 5,000, some of our crew members, in fact, one of our crew members had this pride flag on his own personal equipment then too.
I couldn't make this up if I tried. While they were filming a scene where Jesus does a miracle and feeds 5,000 people with 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread, the man who was filming it was wearing a pride flag And Dallas volunteered that information. He didn't think that this would be offensive to God in any way. I'll tell you what, I feel like this was going on at The Chosen, but somehow very few people knew about it. And as Jesus himself said in verses like Luke 8:17, nothing is hidden that will not become evident, nor anything secret that will not come to light. I hate to break the bad news to some people, but if you're giving money to The Chosen, you are literally paying this very confused man to make a fictional show loosely based on the Bible, produced by 3 Mormon executive producers, starring a Roman Catholic Jesus, and filmed by a gay man wearing a pride flag. I wish that everything I just said wasn't literally true, but apparently it is.
And even the term Christian production, I've heard that thrown around. On a Christian production, you shouldn't XYZ. I'm not exactly sure what that term means, to be honest. Now, don't let that scare you. Can a production be Christian? The content can, of course. I mean, we're a show about Christ.
Yes, Dallas, people think it's a Christian production. That's what people tell me in the comments, at least.
It's not that we promoted a pride flag. It's not that I made some sort of statement.
No, you've made no statement at all. We don't know where you fall on this issue whatsoever, other than the fact that you're not bothered by people wearing and bringing pride flags to the filming of your show. Maybe that does tell us where you stand. This is your show. It's your job to reassure everyone of what is going on. It's not enough to say, I didn't promote this personally.
My policy, I'll take it on my partner's policy, is that we just don't stop one of our crew members from having a 3-inch pride flag on his own personal equipment. If that's enough for you to stop watching the show, that's fine. That's your choice.
And that is exactly what I suggest everyone does. In fact, I suggested that at the end of my last video on The Chosen, simply because of the massive changes that Dallas has made to the character of Jesus. Dallas likes to go on and on about how he's portraying the authentic Jesus. And then in his interview with Melissa Doherty, he went ahead and said that 95% of the show does not come directly from Scripture. So how in the world can you end up with the authentic Jesus when you write your own story? You can either have the real Jesus or you can have a fictional one, but you cannot have both in the same character. Well, that's all I have for today. I think this one's pretty straightforward. Please drop me a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you can also take a moment to like the video, that helps a lot, and subscribe for more content. Thank you guys, as always, for stopping back to the channel. It's only getting crazier out there. God bless you all. Grace and peace in the name of our Lord, Jesus Christ.